Guys, I found this on my phone, okay? If something happens to me, let this be a record as to why.
The bikes are out there. There are deals to be had. Thing is, two keys to success in that. Number one, you got to stock marketplace like a hawk. And, if you see a deal, be ready to jump on it. Then. Right damn then. Number two, sometimes you got to overlook a few things here and there and kind of look at the big picture. I'll admit, I struck gold whenever I bought Destiny for $1,600. But you know what? For $1,200, with a clean and clear title and under 40,000 miles on an 85 model, yeah, I don't mind having to put a little bit more work into this one than I did that sexy old bitch over there. And that also brings me up to my point of buying this bike. This bike's got a little bit lower stance to it, a little bit lower to the ground. Last time, whenever I had a stray follow me home, the excuse that I used was I bought the beloved wife unit a new seat, and a whole damn motorcycle came with it. Well, baby, I bought you a new seat, and a whole damn motorcycle came with it. I picked this up for the wife unit. Happy late Valentine's Day, baby. Whenever you get to see her in the flesh, I hope you like it. Don't get me wrong, guys. I got to give a big shout out here to my amigo, my brother from another mother, 5 foot 12 and a half inches of twisted ceiling and sex appeal. That's right, Shade Tree Surgeon. He's the one that facilitated me obtaining said motorcycle because I just happened to be out of town at the time. We were in Orlando tending to some family recreational activities. I found a deal. I sent it to Josh because, well, I didn't figure that I was going to be able to, play into it. Well, he made the offer, very gracious of one at that. He went and picked the thing up for me. Brother, I owe you. Thank you. A shitload. Hopefully, any lumps taken to the head will be me and me alone, and you won't get swept up in the collateral damage. So just a brief overview, because honestly, it's going to be a while before I can do anything with Fate here, because I've got to wrap up some other stuff and make some space in the garage. Somebody's already put a late model CV style carb on here, and they got one of the little Dragtron chrome jobby go fast air filters. I actually like those things. They're a good kit, they're affordable, and they work real good, and they got a classy look to them. So yeah, cool. We'll probably leave that on there. Mufflers, yeah, well, I'm going to find a different set of pipes because somebody did the whole hillbilly booger weld on these. But I got both saddlebags. I got both saddlebags lids, most importantly, because these things like to disappear when you're going down the road. And these are no different. Unfortunately, I didn't get keys with this bike, but that's okay because number one, it ain't hard to swap out a lock set on a Harley. And number two, hey, I just kind of rather have my own. That way I ain't got to worry about somebody else having something that matches up with something that I've got. We got to do a little front brake workage on there. Definitely going to be throwing some tires on here because I ain't putting the wife unit on anything sketchy and, somewhat semi-safe. Got to put a new highway bar on there because it's a little bit tweaked. And while we're at it, we may go ahead and lower this bike just a little bit more, just to make it a little bit easier for her to get on terra firma. Because for those of y'all that don't know, this is going to be the wife unit's first motorcycle. Actually, she's probably finding out about the same time that you are. And she's probably looking at me really, really funny right now. Got a nice Mustang touring saddle on there. But the thing that I really like about it, it's cut skinny in the front. And that helps with people being able to get flat-footed on the ground and feel a little bit better about what they're doing. That's definitely going to help her out, y'all. She's short. So all in all, was it worth $1,200 to me? Yeah. Hey, y'all. Everybody's favorite Bumpkin here. You know how sometimes you put together a plan and then that plan just kind of, basically it goes to crap. That's where we're at right now. So, yeah, let's dive into this and unpack it a little bit, shall we? Follow along. Okay, just to give you a little bit of backstory here. Shortly after I started putting out the suspension updates and stuff like that on Project Destiny, my 88 model Terraglide, I had one of my Patreon guys reach out to me and say, hey, I would really like to do a build like this on a bike, kind of modernize an old bike, something like that. and not necessarily something to take on as a full restoration project. However, something that he could get into to where him and his dearly beloved could go right off into the sunset whenever the mood just struck him just right. But he wanted it to have good brakes and good ride while we were doing it. Okay, cool. Coincidentally, I have had this 2002 model Road King sitting here at the Ride Factory as a bike for sale by friend of the business, shall we say, for probably better part of a year and a half now. And the thing is, there's a lot of upgrades on this bike. I mean, it's got a lot of nice extras on there, a lot of safety chrome. It's got a 95-inch kit on the motor, kind of a mild cam. It's tuned, true dual exhaust, some really tasteful, really nice creature comforts on there. But the thing is, for whatever reason, nobody wanted to touch this thing. I don't know why. I mean, it was priced more than fair. Anyway, long story short, I sent some pictures to my guy over on Patreon, and he's like, yes, that right there. I like that. Tell me more. So, long story short, we get talking back and forth, and I end up kind of being the middleman on the deal on this bike. And guess what? This new this 2002 model Road King here, it's got a new owner. And Ken, can't wait to meet you here in a couple of weeks, bud, because what he's doing is he's flying down here for the Weirdos camp out at Forgotten Angels here next month in March, and he's going to be riding said Road King back up to North Carolina. In the meantime, he wanted me to go ahead and do the suspension updates and stuff like that, like he'd seen me do on my 1988 model Glide. Okay, cool, no problem. And that's kind of where the plan went to crap. Because obviously you can see I've got the bike up on the lift right now, and there's no front end on it. That's when we run into a wee little bit of a problem. Hang on, I will explain. Now, in weeks past, you guys have seen me talk about these little guys right here. The hashtag not a Racetech Gold Valve from Racetech Enterprises. These are a good alternative. I got several sets of these things running around in other bikes out there, plus also a couple of my personal bikes. Hey, dollar per dollar, I'm thoroughly convinced that this is probably the best bang for the buck out there right now on the market as far as a quick and dirty, cheap and easy suspension upgrade where you're going to see a noticeable increase in both your ride comfort, your ride quality, and also the way the bike handles, small bumps, big bumps, everything in between. It takes the nosedive tendency out of the front end. And that was the original plan. I was going to set him up with a set of these things on the front end with a similar setup to what I've got in Destiny. And that would have worked right up until the point where I took the bike apart. Because if you guys have seen the previous videos, y'all know this is a damper rod. Well, this is a hashtag not a Racetech Gold Valve. And they sit thusly, like so, on top of the damper rod. Well, I got this set up in one side of it. And then this is what I pulled out of the left side. This is one of Harley's grand experiments that they toyed with for a few years, and they decided, you know what, we don't like that, and we're going to go back and make them like we did 100 years ago. Okay, cool. Now let me explain. What this is a damping cartridge that goes only in the left side of certain 2002, 2003, and 2004 FL Touring models. And by touring models, I mean Ultra Classic, Electroglide. Let's see here, what else did they come in? They also came out in the early edition Road Glide as well. But to the best of my knowledge, and to the best of everybody that I've talked to up to this point, including parts diagrams, parts fishes from Harley-Davidson themselves, and also from Racetech Suspension, this should not exist in the forks in that bike right there. So that means that somebody done a little half-breeding. Now, let me back up just a couple steps. Honestly, I think these things get a lot of hate that they shouldn't, okay? Because Showa pitched a good idea to Harley whenever they first started developing these things, and the theory behind them is sound. The right side leg, or the dead leg, if you will, it controls strictly last minute compression damping, i.e. that last little bit of travel before it physically bottoms out, you know, it's controlled by the oil flow through the oil lock on the bottom of the damper rod. It still does that. It still provides a little bit of damping, but the majority of the damping on the front end is provided by this damper cartridge. And this damper cartridge holds the fork spring in captivity up on top of it, like so, and the whole mess of this bolts into the fork assembly. Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, yeah, just take that out and put a damper rod on the other side. And not so fast, bud. You can't exactly do that because there are some differences in these. The oil lock that's meant to go on the bottom of this, well, here's the funny thing. It passes totally through the fork tube. The bottoms of the fork tubes themselves are different. So if I were to convert this over to a conventional damper rod setup to where I could use the hashtag not a gold valve in both sides of this, we would have to buy a new fork tube, we would have to buy a damper rod, we would have to buy an oil lock, we would have to buy a top out spring. And yeah, I wasn't really prepared to deal with all that right here, right now, because obviously it's a Monday, we got a packed shop here at the Ride Factory, and I'm the only one here except for the cats. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you guys, if you just happen to have one of these odd duck forks where it's got the damper in just one side, I'm going to show you how they break down, how they assemble, how you need to set them up to where you can vary the oil viscosity and the oil height. That way you can still get an increase in your ride performance and your handling without breaking the bank, okay? So come on, let's jump into it. First off, please excuse the messy workbench, and also please excuse if I look like I'm kind of here, there, everywhere. For whatever reason, the display on my camera decided it didn't want to work today, so I'm having to kind of go by dead reckoning here. Let's start on this cartridge side first, okay? Now, it's going to assemble fairly similar to what a standard damper rod fork will, but then again, there's some key points that you need to watch out for as well, because, yeah, it's different, and it ain't going to go together the same way. Okay, so take our fork tube, take our slider bush, put that little guy on there. Watch your pitties because you'll get a pinch and an owie, and it don't feel good when that happens. Man. Thing didn't want to play. Hang on a second. Let me get a mic. I'm going to measure the bottoms of these fork tubes here and see if I've got a bum bushing or if I've got a fork tube that's sized odd, because that would be a first for me, because I have serviced these things before, but I've never had a bushing be different. I've always used just a standard fork seal and bushing service kit on these things. So yeah, hang on a second. Man, that thing does not want to come up off there. And I know I'm going to correct myself right here, right now. I'm using a caliper, not a micrometer. I know there's some of the detail nerds out there in the comment section that's probably going to blow me up if I don't fix that right here, right now. So let's see what we see here. Okay, the normie side, that is 1.545, 1.546, 1.546. Okay, they're the same. We may have a case of bogus bushings here, kids. I wonder if it had a little piece of schmutz or something up underneath it that was making it fat. Tell you what, before I go through the pain and agony of putting that back on there, let me see if they blew it on the thickness. 58.5 versus 56.5. Well, I could see 0.02 of an inch of extra thickness causing a fitment problem, but truth be told, I ain't ever seen it before. Let's try this again, see what happens. Man, that sucker locks on with vengeance there. Yep, no, I don't feel good about that. Yeah, don't feel good about that at all.
A few moments later.
Yeah, those install a whole lot easier. I wonder if these things are too long on the overall length. So on the originals we got 0.781. Actually, they're shorter, 0.774. Man, that's just wild. I don't know. I do not know. Well, luckily, that's not the only set of bushings I got in the house. Come on, hang out there with us. Let's put this stuff together. Now, take note here. Notice our oil lock on the bottom of our damper cartridge? Normally, that oil lock will not pass all the way through the bottom of the fork tube. But watch this. Oh, that one does. The reason why it does is, even though this functions kind of sort of as an oil lock, it really is not doing that much in the way of controlling your bottom out resistance, because let me pull this cartridge back out of here and I'll show you. Now this is the normal fork tube right here. And if you look up inside there, you can see a little bit of a bluish nylon floating ring in there. That's a sealing ring. It seals around the top of the fork, or around the bottom of the dampener rod itself. And that is also conspicuously missing from our fork leg, or fork tube rather, that holds the damper rod side. That's why you've got to replace this if you ever convert away from the damper rod front end. We'll take our fork leg here, slide that in, get him home. And there. At this point, the assembly on this is kind of academic. It's pretty much what you're expecting and what you're used to. That will stop shortly. Bear with me. I'll point it out as we go. Grab our fork seal driver. Yep, that size about right. Let's see how our upper bushes fit. Actually, before we do that, let's give them a little shot of spray slick here, just to help the process. Remember, guys, there's always time for lubricant. Take that, take one of our new backup washers. Yeah, these bushings are made out of spec. Absolutely out of spec. I should not be able to do that. These here are going back. There, that's a hell of a lot more like it. A little bit of silicone on our fork seal, just to help it along. And we're going to take one of our old backup washers here, take that and set that on top of your fork seal. That way your fork seal driver is not beating the crap out of the top of that rubber seal. Yep, there we go. Little snappy snap ring. And even though Harley doesn't require it, and even though they say you don't have to have it, we're putting a dust seal on there. That way we can keep all the crusties and funglies from living on top of our fork seals when they're stuffed up inside the cowbells. This is one of those times where your silicone's a little too slick, because I'm trying to get that dust seal to pop into the top of the fork leg here. It's so slick, and the bearing area on that seal where it pops into the fork leg is so skinny, it's actually pushing itself back up out of the fork leg. Hit her with a little brake cleaner just to get it good and dry. Ow! And also find that cut on my thumb. Ow, damn, that burns. Let's try this again. Yeah, a lot more better. For all you technical types out there, that is what you call kinetic assemblage of parts. Okay, let me get this thing jigged up in a holding fixture, and I'll show you how we got to set the oil height in it and all that, because this is a different critter than the conventional damper rod forks that we're all used to working with here. Hang on, be right back. Okay, so here's our setup that we've got for setting the oil height in these. Now, these little cartridge rod adapters that I've got, you don't absolutely have to have one of these, but damn, it sure makes life a hell of a lot easier. Because what it does, these are threaded on each end with various different types of thread patterns, and they screw down on top of that damper rod to give you something to grab a hold of. That way you can work the cartridge rod up and down while you're bleeding this, because you not only have to bleed the fork like we typically do, but you've got to bleed that cartridge as well, because the cartridge is what provides the actual damping. The oil that's in between the cartridge and the fork, that's there to provide lubrication for the fork sliding up and down on the slider bushes. And speaking of slider bushes, those things are going back to Drag Specialties, because those things, all 4 of them, were out of spec. Not a damn one of them would fit in here properly. The upper bushes, they would fall out. The lower bushes, they wouldn't even go in when they were on the fork tube. So here's the thing. On these cartridge setups from the factory where they only had 1 cartridge in it, it was just in the left-hand leg, remember, do these things side at a time. That way you don't get your parts mixed up, okay? For one, it ain't going to go together, at least not easily. And if you do manage to get it to go together, it damn sure ain't going to work right. Now, originally from the factory, these things spec'd a 5-weight fork oil in the left-hand cartridge with our damper rod in there. Now, what we're going to do here, we're going to bump that up to a 10-weight. The original right side fork that had just a conventional damper rod in there, those originally spec'd what was basically the equivalent of a 15-weight fork oil. We're going to bump that up to some 30 that I've got here, because we're working with our stock fork springs here. The spring rate itself is pretty good, although this bike did have a tendency to nosedive and blow through the stroke pretty good, you know, whenever you would grab a handful of front brake on it. And we're going to kill that off, because not only can we play with our fork oil viscosity, we can also play with our fork oil height, and that will alleviate our, you know, tendency to blow through the stroke and go all the way to the bottom. Up in the viscosity, especially here on the side with the damper rod, that's going to slow down compression and rebound damping. So that's where we're going to get our additional rebound damping and our additional rebound control from out of the cartridge, is just from the increased viscosity of the fork oil. So first and foremost, what I like doing on these is I will fill the fork up, and then you can hear that ooshy gooshy, yeah, that noise. Oh, that noise right there. That tells me that we need to add some more oil in here, because when the fork extends far enough, it's allowing it to actually suck air back into the void in between the fork tube and the fork leg here, because we don't have quite enough in there. Oh yeah, there we go. Yes, that's how it's supposed to work. Stop looking at me like that. That was a bunch of pervs. Gosh. Okay, so now that we got our outer tube bled, let's work on getting this damper rod bled. And honestly, working that tube up and down, looks like it's gotten the majority of the air out of our cartridge. So cool, there's that. You guys have seen me leave links to fork service tools before. Guess what? We're going to do it again, all right? They're going to be down here in the description on the video. These tools that I've got here, these are factory Kawasaki special tools. Well, at least the fork oil gauge is. These damper rod tools, these are from Racetech. And I've had these for damn near ever. The thing is, I use this stuff almost on a daily basis. So to me, it was worth it to spend a little bit more money, because I knew I was going to be buying something that I was going to be using a lot of very frequently. The stuff I'm going to link to you guys down below, it's going to be perfectly adequate for you for a do-it-yourself standpoint in the home shop, and plus it's going to save you a lot of money too. Keep that in mind. The book spec on this shows 139 millimeters of installed height on our fork oil. Well, you know what? I ain't going to worry about that 1 millimeter. We're going to round it up. But the thing is, we're raising the oil height as well. So instead of setting it at 140, we're going to set it at 130. We're going to raise our oil height 10 millimeters. What that does is that reduces the amount of airspace in this fork that air has a space to compress into, that's where we get our additional spring rate at the bottom of the stroke. I know it may sound a little repetitive for some of you guys watching at home right now, but the thing is, we got some people watching that may not have seen us do one of these videos before, so I like to cover all my bases and explain why I do what I do. Because at the end of the day, that's what these videos are here for. That's why I do them. I like to help people learn, and I like to help people save a buck and get to know their bike a little bit better instead of just handing it over to a service writer at a dealership somewhere and say, here, I'll have your kidney when I return. Now what this is doing is it's letting me set my oil height to my preferred measurement. And again, like I said, 130 millimeters in this case. There we go, that's done. Okay. I hate to say it, guys, but this is one of those areas where I just don't have a good hack for getting around the need for a dedicated special tool for doing this style of fork, okay? Now, on the upside, the tool I'm going to show you, it's something that's usable not only on these Harley forks, but virtually any metric motorcycle that uses cartridge type forks, virtually any upside down fork configuration that's out there. If you got more than one bike or if you got a bunch of buddies, hey, get together, y'all pool your cash. I'll have you a link for the not a Race Tech alternate version of this tool down here in the bottom of this video. That way you guys can grab your own. But basically, it's a glorified C-clamp is what it is, but it's got a piece of all thread here that allows it to hook into the bottom of the fork leg and compress the spring retainer and the spring up on the top side. That way you can get your top cap nut and the retainer on top of the spring in place. So we take our fork spring, drop that little guy down in there, and I need to back off my special tool just a wee bit. Got to have some room to make it happen. Now we go down through the collar, thread our damper rod tool back onto the top of the damper rod, because basically we're just using this to guide it and keep the spring from popping out of there and beaning us in the forehead. Oh poop, I forgot a part. Yeah, I knew this was going too good. Yeah, so, little bitty flat washer goes on top of your fork spring before you put your damper rod tool in there. Put it in now or else you ain't never gonna get it there. Now we can squash our fork spring down. Now here's the tricky part. You got to get this damper rod pulled up enough and get the spring compressed enough to where you can get the retention nut and the horseshoe clip on the top of it. Obviously, I need to go down a little more. Now, when you guys are doing this at home, be careful because there's a lot of stored energy in this spring, and you want to make sure that it's contained and it ain't going to come out of there and get you, because it will get you. That is making me extremely nervous right now, because this thing is way stiffer than a stock rate spring. I think somebody, whenever they put these internals in here, they put updated springs in here as well. You know what? This is kind of getting spooky. I'm going to back this thing off and reassess a little here, because this just don't feel right. Well, it's a sad day, guys, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but I think my Hong Kong Phooey camera just died. So, yeah. Looks like I'm going to be doing a little bit of shopping here, because, you know, if I can't count on my camera, I can't count on being able to put out any kind of videos for you guys, and that's a problem. So, if you can see this, and if it's recording right now, I'm going to abbreviate this and wrap it up real fast. I'm going to get my ass back in gear on these forks and get them put together. That way I can get this bike wrapped up and off the lift and head my ass back to the hacienda. Now I'm already looking at a couple of different cameras, and I want to put motorcycles aside for just a second here, and I want to give a big, ginormous shout out to all of you guys over on the Patreon site. You guys have had my back since day one on this, and believe me, it helps a lot, especially whenever the unexpected, like this pops up. You guys being behind me and supporting me and helping me out on this stuff. I mean, truly, you guys are the reason that we are able to do what we are able to do here at JTMJ. I couldn't do it without you guys. Seriously. Yeah. Thank you. Big mucho. Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyway, gang, if this makes it into the video, and if we're actually making a video right now, I will update shortly. So between now and then, I'll catch you guys on the flip side, okay? Well, now, not exactly how I'd intended on ending that video, but, hey, it is what it is. So here we are, 2 days later, still waiting on Buddy Bezos to show up with a new to me Chinesium camera. So we'll see how that goes. They've already delayed it twice, so yeah. Who knows, gang? We may be doing this off the yay old cell phone for the next few weeks, because apparently I'm going to have to divert some motorcycle fundage over into, well, stuff to do YouTubes and do more YouTube fundage type stuff. So, yeah, there's that. But since I have y'all here and you're more or less a captive audience, let me give you a quick recap here. The Road King, hey, that thing came out great, and I'm here to tell you, the front end on that thing, definitely not what I was expecting to find, and it did throw me for a little bit of a loop, but all in all, the thing came out pretty damn good. Ken, I think you're going to be pretty happy with the old girl whenever you get down here. And, oh yeah, just so you guys know, I'm going to pick a bike up tomorrow night, which is actually tonight, and actually, if you're watching this part of the video right now in the premiere crew, we're kind of kicking down the fourth wall here, I've already picked this bike up, and, well, let's just say if you want a sneak peek at it, go check out the Patreon page, because those guys are going to be in the know. Just saying. Anyway, gang, hopefully we'll be here same bat time, same bat channel next week, and we'll have a actual camera instead of a busted ass cell phone to where we can shoot video of, and yeah, let's see what happens. Anyway, just remember, guys, I love you. I appreciate every single damn one of you, and I look forward to seeing you here back again real soon, alright? Till then, be safe, have fun. If you can't be good at it. I'll catch you on the flip side.
Force will be with you, always.